our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, is representing the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the 4th edition of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, which opened today, Friday, in the Turkish resort city. The A3+ group at the UN Security Council has strongly condemned in New York the Zionist military aggression against Syria in violation of international law, calling for the protection of civilians and infrastructure in accordance with international humanitarian law. And at least 12 Palestinians were killed and others were wounded today in the morning in bombardments by the Zionist occupation army in Beit Lahi and Khan Yunis. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, Prime Minister Nadil Arbawi has chaired a government meeting devoted to monitoring progress in the hydraulics and higher education sectors, as well as examining draft bills relating to the national education and tourism sectors, according to a press release issued by the Prime Minister's office. The details in this report by our colleague Saad Bouazi.
The government meeting examined the rate of progress in the implementation of the emergency program decided by the President of the Republic concerning the supply of drinking water to several provinces, notably through the mobilization of water resources, the rehabilitation and extension of water networks and stations, and the monitoring of equitable distribution. As part of the follow-up to the implementation of the directives issued by the President of the Republic to promote Algerian universities, the government heard a presentation on the introduction of quality system within higher education establishments based on a series of mechanisms and measures designed to enable these universities to achieve high levels of excellence and to guarantee their compliance with international standards in terms of governance, training, research, and innovation. The government also continued its examining of the preliminary draft law amending Law 8312 of 2nd July 1983 on retirement for national education teachers. In the end, the government examined the preliminary draft law amending and supplementing Law 0302 of 17th February 2003, laying down general rules for the use and exploitation of beaches for tourism purposes in accordance with standards of quality and professionalism, with the introduction of a tourist development plan for beaches, setting out the characteristics and elements of their organization and development.
The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has presided over a ceremony to unveil a commemorative stone at the headquarters of the Algerian Consulate General in Tunis, which had housed the offices of the Ministry of Armaments and General Liaison of the Provisional Government of the Algerian Republic, according to a ministry press release. On the instructions of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has arrived in Antalya, Turkey to represent Algeria in the 4th edition of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, which is scheduled to which opened today, Friday, in the resort town, the resort city, under the theme Restoring the Role of Diplomacy in Fragmented World. This edition provides for the organization of about 10 workshops on several topical issues and files, with the participation of government officials, representatives of international organizations, and personalities from the academic and media world. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Lounes Maghraman, has co-chaired in Moscow, Russia, with the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Special Representative of the Russian President for Africa and the Middle East, Mikhail Bogdanov, the proceedings of the 5th session of the Algerian-Russian political consultations. This session, which follows the implementation of the Enhanced Strategic Partnership Declaration signed in Moscow in June 2023 by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, resulted in the discussion of a number of regional and international issues of common interest, including the latest developments in the Sahel region, the Middle East, the Palestinian question, and the Western Sahara issue. The Minister of Interior, Local Assemblies and Country Planning, Brahim Murad, has arrived in Naples, Italy, to take part in the proceedings of the quadripartite coordination meeting on issues linked to irregular migration, which brings together the interior ministers of Algeria, Italy, Tunisia, and Libya at the invitation of his Italian counterpart Matteo Piantodisi, according to ministry press release. And the A3 Plus group at the UN Security Council has strongly condemned in New York the Zionist military aggression against Syria in violation of international law, calling for the protection of civilians and infrastructure in accordance with international humanitarian law. Speaking on behalf of the A3 Plus group, Algeria, Somalia, Sierra Leone, and Guyana, at the emergency session of the Security Council held at the request of Algeria and Somalia to discuss the impact of the Zionist aggression against Syria, the permanent representative of Algeria to the UN, Amr Ben Jama, said that the group is concerned about the Zionist military escalation in Syria, which, occurring at a critical moment in its history, further aggravates its already precarious situation. Let's listen to Mr. Ben Jama.
The A3 Plus is concerned about the military escalations by Israel in Syria, which are taking place at a critical period of Syria's history. We understand that the recent airstrikes have reportedly resulted in 9 civilians' casualties and damage the civilian infrastructure. The A3 Plus strongly condemn these military operations that violate international law, including the United Nations Charter. In this regard, we stress the importance of ensuring full respect for Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Calling for an end to the Zionist incursion into Syria and the withdrawal of the occupying forces from Syrian territories, the A3 Plus recalled that the Golan Heights were occupied Syrian territory, as stated in the Security Council Resolution 497 of 1981.
Full respect for the 1974 disengagement agreement, including provisions related to the zone of separation. In this regard, we underscore that there should be no military forces, no military equipment, an end to the Israeli incursion, and the complete withdrawal of its forces from Syria's territory. We emphasize that the Golan Heights is an occupied Syrian territory, as reaffirmed by Security Council Resolution 497. This Security Council must uphold its resolutions and ensure complete compliance by all parties.
In this respect, the A3 Plus reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to the unity, sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Syria, saying they were ready to work with all member states towards a peaceful settlement of the ongoing crisis in this country.
The A3 Plus stands ready to work with all member states to ensure a peaceful resolution to the ongoing crisis in Syria, prioritizing the needs and aspirations of the Syrian people. The prosperity of Syria is critical to the stability of the entire region. Any action by external actors that jeopardizes Syria's security must be condemned by the international community. Rebuilding Syria requires an investment in dialogue, not sanction, enhanced collaboration, not aggression, and steadfast support, not desertion.
The Zionist airstrikes waged on Friday morning on various parts of the Gaza Strip have resulted in 14 martyrs and several injured. According to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, warplanes belonging to the Zionist occupation forces bombed a house in Khan Yunis in the south of the Gaza Strip, killing 10 people, all members of a single family, and wounding several others. And the Palestinian National Council has welcomed the two state resolutions of the United Nations Educational Organization UNESCO, calling for an immediate halt to the Zionist entities' colonial projects in Al-Quds and in Al-Khalil in the occupied West Bank, which aim to disfigure Palestinian identity. The Council of the Nation, under the presidency of its Speaker Salah Koujil, has affirmed that the solution to the question of Western Sahara requires a fair and transparent referendum under the supervision and responsibility of the United Nations. Said Bouhazi has more.
The Council of the Nation considers that the confirmation by the U.S. State Department of the position of the United States of America regarding the just Sahrawi cause constitutes a departure from international legality, which should be respected, moreover, by a permanent member of the UN Security Council. This position will only fuel the colonialist ambitions of the Moroccan regime, offering it illusory victories that cannot alter historical truths nor divert the inevitable course of history, which rejects and despises colonialism for as long as it persists, it stressed. The Council of the Nation also considers that this position will compromise international efforts to promote UN solutions and enable the Sahrawi people to exercise their legitimate right to self-determination and independence in accordance with the agreed legal framework, namely the 1991 UN Settlement Plan. Drawing on the position of the Algerian state as expressed in the press release issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs on Wednesday 9 April 2025, the Council of the Nations stressed that the Sahrawi question is of a legal nature, unique and indisputable. It is a case of decolonization as affirmed by all the relevant international and regional resolutions, notes the same source, adding that this issue is included as such on the agenda of the Fourth Committee of the United Nations General Assembly, as well as in its resolutions enshrining the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination.
And the United Nations has warned of the consequences of the ongoing conflict across Darfur in Sudan, which forced thousands of people to flee their homes amid deteriorating humanitarian situation and restricted relief efforts. UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric confirmed that more than 4,000 people were newly displaced in North Darfur over the past week alone due to the escalating conflict in Al-Fashir, including the Zamzam camp of internally displaced persons where famine has been officially confirmed. Let's listen to Mr. Dujarric.
Our colleagues on the ground warn that insecurity continues to push thousands of people across the Darfur region out of their homes as humanitarian conditions rapidly deteriorate even further. In the past week alone, more than 4,000 human beings have become newly displaced in North Darfur state, and that's due to the escalating violence in Al-Fashir, which includes the Zamzam displacement camp just south of the city and other areas. As you well know, and we said repeatedly, famine conditions have been confirmed in Zamzam.
And still in Sudan, the International Committee of the Red Cross has said that 2/3 of the Sudanese living in conflict-affected areas are deprived of medical care because the majority of health facilities are out of action, estimating that 70 to 80% of health facilities in conflicted areas are no longer operational, depriving 2 out of 3 people access to health care. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin for today. Time now for our weekly program, starting with my colleague Asya Bakar and another program by my colleague Hannah Dalil. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow, as usual, for a fresh edition of our news bulletin in English. Until then, stay tuned and thank you.
To Echoes of Time, and today we embark on a journey to discover one of history's most fascinating empires, the Byzantine Empire. For over 1,000 years, this empire stood as a cultural, political, and religious bridge between Europe and Asia. The Byzantine Empire wasn't just a continuation of Rome, it was a unique civilization that fused Greco-Roman traditions with the influences of the East, from the splendor of Constantinople to its monumental contributions to art, law, and religion. The Byzantine story is one of resilience and transformation. Today, we'll explore its rise, its golden ages, the challenges it faced, and its lasting legacy. The story of the Byzantine Empire begins with Constantine the Great, one of history's most transformative leaders. In 330 CE, he founded the city of Constantinople on the site of ancient Byzantium, a Greek colony. Why Constantinople? Its location was strategic. Perched on the Bosporus Strait, it connected Europe and Asia while controlling key trade routes between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. Constantine's decision wasn't just about geography, it was also symbolic. By moving the Roman capital eastward, he laid the groundwork for a new chapter in history. Constantinople, often called the New Rome, quickly became a cosmopolitan hub where East met West. Its markets buzzed with goods from as far as China and India, and its streets were adorned with Roman columns, Christian churches, and Eastern motifs. Another defining aspect of Constantine's reign was his embrace of Christianity. He legalized the religion and convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which established foundational Christian doctrines. By doing so, Constantine set the stage for Byzantium to become not just a political power but a spiritual one too. Constantine laid the foundations. Emperor Justinian I and his wife, Empress Theodora, turned Byzantium into a glittering jewel. Justinian, who ruled from 527 to 565 CE, was a man of grand ambition. He dreamed of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, and for a time, he succeeded. Under Justinian's military campaigns, led by the brilliant general Belisarius, the Byzantine Empire reclaimed parts of North Africa, Italy, and even southern Spain. These victories were celebrated, but they came at a great cost, draining the empire's treasury and spreading its forces thin. But Justinian's legacy isn't just about conquest. He's best remembered for the Corpus Juris Civilis, or the body of civil law. This monumental codification of Roman laws didn't just shape Byzantium. It became the foundation of legal systems in Europe and beyond, influencing laws we still use today. Theodora, Justinian's wife, was equally remarkable. A former actress with a controversial past, she became a powerful co-ruler. Theodora was a champion of women's rights, advocating for laws to protect women from abuse and granting them more legal autonomy. Her influence during the Nicaea riots, a massive uprising in Constantinople, helped save the empire when she convinced Justinian not to flee but to stand his ground. And then there is the Hagia Sophia, Justinian's crowning architectural achievement. Completed in 537 CE, this magnificent cathedral with its soaring dome seemed to defy gravity. For nearly 1,000 years, it was the largest church in Christendom and remains one of the world's architectural wonders. Its mosaics, shimmering with gold, still tell stories of faith and empire. Justinian's reign marked a high point. The Byzantine Empire's story is one of constant struggle and adaptation. Surrounded by powerful neighbors, Byzantium was frequently at war. The empire's strategic location made it both a prize and a target. One of its most enduring challenges was the rise of Islam in the 7th century. The Arab caliphates launched waves of invasions, capturing key territories like Syria, Egypt, and North Africa regions that had been vital to Byzantine strength. Yet Byzantium survives thanks in part to its military innovations like Greek fire, a mysterious incendiary weapon that helped repel naval attacks. Internally, the empire faced its own crises. Religious disputes, such as the iconoclasm controversy in the 8th and 9th centuries, divided society. Iconoclasts, those who opposed the veneration of religious images, clashed with iconophiles, leading to periods of turmoil. These debates weren't just theological, they were deeply political, reflecting power struggles within the empire. Despite these challenges, Byzantium was remarkably resilient. Its economy, bolstered by trade and a stable currency, remained strong for centuries. Constantinople's markets were legendary, offering silks from China, spices from India, and furs from the north. Byzantium also played a critical role in preserving knowledge. While Western Europe plunged into the Dark Ages, Byzantine scholars kept the works of ancient Greek and Roman thinkers alive. They copied and studied texts by Plato, Aristotle, and Hippocrates, ensuring this knowledge would eventually flow back to Europe during the Renaissance. By the 14th century, the Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former self. Encircled by the rising Ottoman Turks, it had lost most of its territory, reduced to Constantinople and a few surrounding areas. The final blow came in 1453 when Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, laid siege to Constantinople. The city's defenders were vastly outnumbered, but they held out heroically for 53 days. Ultimately, the Theodosian walls, which had protected the city for centuries, were breached by Ottoman cannons. The fall of Constantinople was more than the end of an empire. It was a turning point in world history. The Ottoman Turks established a new capital there, renaming it Istanbul, while Byzantine scholars fled westward, carrying precious manuscripts that would ignite the European Renaissance. Even in defeat, Byzantium's influence endured. Its art, architecture, and religious traditions shaped Eastern Europe and Russia, where the Orthodox Church carried on a spiritual legacy of the empire. The Byzantine Empire's story is one of extraordinary resilience. For over a millennium, it stood at the crossroads of civilizations, influencing the world in ways that are still visible today. Its legal innovations shaped modern system of justice. Its art and architecture, from glittering mosaics to the awe-inspiring Hagia Sophia, continue to inspire. And its role as a preserver of knowledge ensured that the wisdom of the ancients would not be lost. But perhaps the greatest legacy of Byzantium is its reminder that even in the face of relentless challenges, adaptation and perseverance can create a lasting impact. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the Byzantine Empire. I hope you've enjoyed in covering the echoes of this remarkable civilization. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the past.
and welcome to Discover Algeria, a program in which we'll let you discover or know more about the Algerian heritage, to include history, traditions, popular beliefs, social rituals, celebrations, as well as many aspects of the Algerian life dating back to the prehistoric, the Berber or Amazigh era, until the Muslims one. Today we'll start a series devoted to the Andalusian classical music in Algeria. Andalusian music is a style of Moorish music found across North Africa and southern Iberia, though it evolved out of the music of Andalusia between the 9th and 15th centuries during a period known as Al-Andalus. It is now most closely associated with Algeria, with the Al-Gharnati, Sana'a, Hawzi and Al-Malouf styles, and southern Spain, precisely in Andalusia, though similar traditions are found in Morocco, Tunisia and Libya. This first part is devoted to Al-Malouf, which is the type of Andalusian music with some influence from the Ottoman music and the Berber Shawi music of the region of Constantine. It's worth noting that it exists in the east of Algeria, also in neighboring Tunisia and Libya. We should also note that the popular music of Shabi developed in the Kasbah of Algiers derived from the classical expression of Andalusian music. First, let's know and discover more about the origin of Andalusian music. Andalusian classical music was allegedly born in the Emirate of Cordoba, Al-Andalus, in the 9th century. The Kurdish or Iraqi musician resident in Iraq, Ziryab, who later became court musician of Abdurrahman II in Cordoba around 857, was of great influence on Spanish music and is considered the founder of the Andalusian music traditions of North Africa. Ziryab is thought to have codified disparate elements of Arab poetic traditions of Qasida, Muwashah and Zajal. Later, the poet, composer and philosopher Ibn Bajuf Saragossa, known in the Western world as Ave Pace, around 1139, is said to have combined the style of Ziryab with Western approaches to produce a wholly new style that spread across Iberia and North Africa. By the 11th century, Moorish, Spain and Portugal had become a center for the manufacture of instruments. These goods spread gradually to Provence, influencing French troubadours and travers, and eventually reaching the rest of Europe. The English words of lute, rebec, which is a bass-string musical instrument, guitar and naka or nakir, which is a small drum of Arabic origin, and the forebear of the European timpani, derive from the Arabic oud, rabab, qitara and naqara. Classical music of Al-Andalusia, Al-Ala, reached North Africa via centuries of cultural exchange. The Almohad dynasty and then the Marini dynasty and the Abd al-Walid being in power both in Al-Andalus and the Maghreb region. Mass resettlements of Muslim and Sephardi Jews from Cordoba, Seville, Valencia, Granada, fleeing the Reconquista, further expanded the reach of Andalusian music. If the term Gharnati refers in the region of Tlemcen to the entire directory Andalusian scholar, in Morocco it designates a distinct musical style of the Andalusian, in addition to the much larger directory style confirmed by the authors Rashid Ous and Mohammed Hamid Samqandi in their book Music of Algeria. The North African cities have inherited particularly Andalusian musical style of Granada, and also mentioned in the book The Literature of Al-Andalus. It's worth noting that there are 24 nuba linked to each hour of the day, but in Algeria only 16 nuba, with 4 that are unachieved, and in Morocco 11 have survived, which together include 25 Andalusian modes, or nuba. And each nuba is divided into 5 parts called mizan, each with a corresponding rhythm. And all these rhythms are going to be in the second part of this program devoted to Andalusian music. Bye-bye.